Do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
What the is that, dude?
Well, howdy, folks. How are you this very fine day? Hope you're having a good one. It's Monday, the 21st of October, and I've got to tell you, a bit of an exciting show tonight, I think. There's been a bit of intel that's come out, and if you've been following the show for the last few days, you'll know that, well, you've had a bit of a heads up about what's coming, I think. Tonight, we'll fill in a little more detail around that. There has been quite a large intel drop this afternoon that's come through another provider, like another truther like myself, who has some exceptionally good contacts, obviously. What I'm going to tell you is purportedly from Julian Assange, or very close to Julian Assange, sources very close to. And given if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, a lot of what I'm going to tell you is going to start ringing true. And despite my misgivings, I'm going to give you some dates. So take the dates for what you will, but I feel pretty confident that there is a lot of shit going down in the world right now. A lot. And we're going to try and clear some of that up tonight. But let's say hello to a few people first up. Paul was first in. And pretty happy about it too. In like Flynn, he says, Scotty the News, good to have you around too, mate. Which part of the world are you in at the moment? Sunflower is in. Good, love you, woman. I hope you and Rick are doing well, and your weekend was pretty flash. Might have to change my glasses over. I'm going to put my neck out. Michelle, lovely to have you in. Another one of our great mods. Aussie Sue's in too. God, Aussie Sue, you have some of the most magnificent things on your Facebook page. I don't know where you get those images from, but they truly are stunning. And I'm hoping you're all feeling better. Dale's doing well, and life, the universe up north is going okay. Well, it's getting hotter, much hotter from what I hear. G'day to Skipper Pete, who's floating around up around the Ingham area. He has been out doing a bit of fishing, as we showed a few weeks ago. He and four mates went out. They had a pretty good catch. Now, somebody emailed me and said, "Oh, gee, that's a lot of bloody fish they've catching." Well, of course there are. There's a lot of bloody fish in the ocean, and not one of those fish goes to waste. It's all divvied up amongst them all and shared out amongst families, not just the four on board, but quite a number of others. So a lot of people subsist that way up there, fishing and feeding others with it. So for folks who've never been fishing in far north Queensland, pull your heads in. You don't know what you're talking about, particularly on the reef. So at least that's the advice that I get from those people who go fishing on the reef. Who else is in the house tonight? Con, nice to have you in, mate. Les, if you're watching, got your emails today. I hope we sorted all that stuff out for you, and your Ainsley Bullion purchase all went very, very well. Les got a little bit confused about discounts and whether he was getting it or whether he was not. Today we sorted all that out pretty well with Michael from Ainsley Bullion. And if you've been watching the price of gold, folks, well, we'll get into that shortly. Silver is also up today. Hello, Dee. Hope you are well. I thought you were calling me beautiful. I see you added people, so that's nice that you're expanding our relationship. Thank you. Hello, Donna. I hope you and my Mason are doing all right. Daniel Weir, nice to have you in, mate. Hope Canberra's I hope Canberra's having a bloody good wash down after the reptilian king arrived there today. Is he staying overnight? I don't know. Does anybody else find it a bit strange that he's flying commercial? Normally they'd have an RWF jet for him, wouldn't they? I would have thought. But he's flying commercial. A little bit weird. Anyway, it is what it is. I don't really care. Neither does Lydia Thorpe, by the look of it. I have seen some headlines about her carry on today. But anyway, apparently, for those of you who don't know, Lydia Thorpe stood up in the Parliament today just after the King had addressed both houses and started screaming about he is not our king, not her king. Stolen land, stolen bones, stolen babies should all be returned. And I do not disagree with her in many of those aspects of what she said, because the British did, and you will still find in British museums any number of Aboriginal artifacts and dead Aboriginals, their bones, in those places. Now, there was some years ago a perfunctory return of a Aboriginal body, I recall, but there is still a lot more there. So she was calling for that. She was also making it pretty clear that it was stolen land that he was on, that his family had stolen it, or at least the lineage had stolen it. She was dragged out by security, and I don't know that we'll see much more of her for the rest of this tour. But good on her for holding on to her convictions, the courage of her convictions. I don't know that that was exactly the right way to be doing things, but who am I to tell her? All right, kids. Are you excited? You should be. You should be very excited. Let me show you something. Now, this is the Ainsley Bullion chart that charts the cost or the price of gold on any given day. Now, you can see as I move this little pointer around that we have on the 8th of the 10th, a gold price of 3,932. You can see it's sort of been steadily growing. It's been on a reasonable uptick for a little while now. However, it has taken a jump. And when did it take that jump? It took that jump on the 15th. It started at 39.36. On the 16th, it was 39.85. On the 17th, it broke through the $4,000 barrier. Why the big dramatic lead up to the 17th? Well, it was the end of the financial year in America on the 17th. And it was also the end of a lot of other things. So, and the beginning of quite a few more. So the 17th of October, what else happened on the 17th of October? Well, if you go back 37 years, you'll discover it was the anniversary, the 37th anniversary of the world's big crash, the 1987 financial crash, October 17, 1987. Just one interesting little point. Something else that happened, which is important, along with it being the end of the financial year in the USA, the Chinese yuan took over as the standard to buy oil in the world, not the US dollar. That essentially kills the US dollar. And right now, the fiat dollar is dead in America. Why? Well, on the 17th of October, it was the end of the fiscal year. The Corporation of America ended its fiscal year, always does. The weird thing is the Corporation of America didn't start a new financial year on the 18th. Something else started on the 17th, though. The Republic of the United States. Interesting. Interesting. No fiscal year for the corporate entity, the United States of America. But there is now an entity for the US Republic. Okay. Think that's a little bit weird? All right. On the 17th in America, all banks were delivered final notice that if they were not Basel III compliant, they would be closed. Those banks are now essentially closed. If they're not Basel III, they were closed last Thursday. Most of the major institutions are Basel III compliant, but the fiat is being killed as we speak. And this is going to take a little while. As things progress, more will become open to the people. What else was on the 17th of October? It turns out that the 17th of October was the International Day for Eradication of Poverty. and it was observed. That's an important point. So many of these days put up by the UN or whoever else are tacitly, given a nod or whatever. If you happen to get into it, then get into it and, raise a balloon to it or whatever. But this International Day for the Eradication of Poverty was celebrated in a number of nations. Why? Could it be because the QFS was activated on the 17th as well? Now, if the QFS was activated, that means Basel III is coming into play. And that means the fiat currency can't play out because the rainbow currency will come into play. Now, this goes back to, if you haven't heard about rainbow currency, and we've done stories on this in the past where ATMs in America have handed out rainbow-coloured notes to people when they've shoved their card in and tried to extract some money out. It turns out those machines were being tested because the notes are a different size, different shape, different feel to them. So these machines had to be tested to see whether or not they would actually fork out these notes. And apparently, on more than one occasion, the test cartridges that were loaded into these ATMs were somehow overlooked. And this testing usually happens overnight where nobody's going to the machines and trying to do much. And of course, people turn up in the morning, go and get some money to buy a coffee, and they get this strange note that pops out. So people were taking him into the bank and asking what the hell was going on. The bank went white, took the notes off, gave them their money, and ushered them out the door very quickly. Just saying, oh, it's just a test note. We use it for calibrating the ATMs and all sorts of other excuses. Well, turns out the rainbow currency is a real deal. A real deal. And it will be announced. 144 countries have so far signed into the BRICS deal. Why is the BRICS deal so significant? Well, it's going to be announced on the 22nd, which is tomorrow. But I'm thinking European time because this meeting will be held in Russia. There are going to be a number of representatives in Russia. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get back to that, to the BRICS thing in a second. With regards to the QFS, if the QFS is activated, it is natural and reasonable and, according to the intel, logical that it follows Nasara Jassara is also activated. Activated on the 17th in 144 countries. Now, there has been no public announcement of Nasara Jassara or this activation of the QFS. That announcement will take place in Russia on the 22nd. So goes the intel. Congress, I think I told you a couple of days or weeks ago, I think it was before the start of this month actually, that Congress were not sitting or had weird sitting days for October. Turns out Congress rose on the 17th. Now, they rose under the instruction of the Speaker. With the fall of the gavel, that means that it's a done deal. There is no Congress for 30 days from last Thursday. What does that mean? Well, if you're a US senator or congressman and you are sitting at the time in Washington, then you have a form of protection that surrounds you that does not enable law enforcement to arrest you. However, if Congress and the Senate is not sitting, and it isn't, having been stood up on the 17th of October and gavelled down for 30 days, that means that every senator and every congressman is now able to be arrested by police and military as they move forward. And that's what we are being promised. Mass arrests. Now, these mass arrests are predicted to start happening fairly soon. But what supporting evidence do we have for that? Well, if you've been following this whole financial system thing for a while, you'll know that Iraq has been a linchpin in the currency proceedings. In fact, I believe that Iraq was the first country that the QFS, if you like, was put into, where there was a revaluation done on their dinar, where it was gold backed. And this, as far as I remember, is probably a couple of years old. And we've all sort of lost sight of that fact. What we probably didn't hear, but is terribly significant, is that a couple of days ago, on the 19th of October, Iraq celebrated its Independence Day for the first time. Now, was there a mass outpouring of wealth? Were people immediately heading off to the gold souk and laying down hundreds of thousands of dollars? I don't know. I don't think so. It hasn't come out. If it is, it's certainly a best kept secret coming out of those war-torn areas, if that is the case. But at the moment, I think it's been pretty well surrounded and protected by those who are engineering this QFS. And engineering it is. So let's get to the BRICS Summit. The BRICS Summit will announce the Great Currency Reset. There'll be 24 leaders from 34 countries making this announcement. I don't think Australia will be one of them. Those 24 leaders from 34 countries will make that announcement from inside Russia. Australia may be part of it, but I'm pretty confident we didn't sign up. I think we were bundled along with America. So, therefore, it may be reasonable to assume that what happens in America could well happen here for a variety of reasons, not the least of which being we've been owned by them for years. So, when that announcement happens, that will pull the rug out completely from underneath the US dollar. Completely. The BRICS standard will be set. The gold standard will be set. Basel III, all banks needing to be compliant with Basel III. I guess the short answer to know what Basel III is, it means that every bank must have the ability to back up their transactions with gold. They must be able to lend based on the gold they own, not somebody else's gold, not something else, not something in somebody else's, vault somewhere. They must have the gold reserves on hand to cover whatever it is they're putting out. So that Basel III requirement. So you'll see a lot of. We've seen a lot of restructuring in the ANZ, the NAB, the Westpac, and the Commonwealth Bank, although the Commonwealth Bank seems to be struggling. I think they might be the ones fighting back because you are seeing lots of problems in the last few days with Commonwealth Bank, starting, interestingly, on the 17th. Who knew? Who knew? All right, so let's get on. The 22nd to the 24th will be the BRICS Summit. That's when the announcement will happen, somewhere in that period. What will happen from the 26th? Now, this is American dates, I'm assuming. However, things might be a little bit fluid in that regard. Keep an eye out from the 26th because that'll be Saturday or Sunday our time. This is when the EBS is being predicted to be activated, the Emergency Broadcast System. This is the time where, if it is to be installed, martial law will come onto the streets. The info I have is that troops are already in just about every major city, or in every major city. They're in a lot of small towns. There's going to be a lot of bad stuff that goes down, and the military needs to be able to spring into action within an hour of these announcements being made. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to find, particularly in America, but I'd be pretty confident here in Australia too. In fact, I know for sure here in Australia too, that there are military units currently in warehouses, parked under buildings. Whole buildings have been rented out. Military have taken over the entire building, and all their stuff is parked underneath. These are hotels that they've rented out in various different places, and this is something the military have been doing now for a few years with the advent of the spicy cough, because the military moved into hotels everywhere and started controlling them, started doing checkpoints and helping out with everything there. So will it come to Australia? Well, it has to come to Australia. God knows we are suffering just as badly as others in the world. Some suffer worse, some suffer less. But the tyranny that is being inflicted upon the people of this country by those unelected, foreign, belligerent occupiers in and while you and I understand that, maybe your next door neighbor doesn't. Maybe they don't understand what a belligerent foreign occupier is. Maybe they are not quite smart enough to understand the difference between a corporation and an Australian government. Not that I like the word government anyway, but there's nothing more fitting to use at this point. This could well be the scary part, folks. How scary will it be for us in Australia? I think probably less scary than for America and Europe. Australia has just forked out another $171 million worth of aid, including 49 Abrams M1A1 tanks to send to Vladimir Zelensky in Ukraine to be destroyed by the Russians. That's another smart idea perpetuated by that horrible piece of work that is our Foreign Minister Penny Wong and the unbelievably incompetent Anthony Albanese, our Prime Minister. Two people I sincerely hope to see arrested over the weekend or early next week. If these things do actually happen, Saturday the 26th, EBS will be activated. That will mean the mass arrests will start, and shortly afterwards, the lockdown will happen. Now, will it happen in Australia? If we are judged to be part of the American, evil side, our government and whatnot, then I think we are going to go down the same route as America. There will be lockdowns. There will be an EBS. There will be mass arrests. Of whom? Well, lawyers, judges, doctors, nurses, politicians, bureaucrats, lots and lots of bureaucrats, including, I hope, every bloody person at the TGA, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, every person at AHPRA who involved agreeing to poison our nation. Because that's what they did. And they did it for a few more dollars in their pocket. They did it to protect their job. Oh, I've got a house. I've got kids. Well, I hope you jabbed them up, and I hope you're now reaping the benefit of that as well. As awful as that sounds. Because you don't really deserve much better. Unfortunately, your kids did. They deserved smarter parents. You failed them. You should be disgusted. Never forget what they did to us. Never forget what they did to their own. The high and mighty, the educated, the university blessed. I've got a doctorate of this. I have a master's of that. I have a bachelor's of the other. All of you have just proved you are smart enough to take the programming. Nothing more. Every one of us that didn't go to university, every one of us that didn't dux the class, every one of us that sat up the back and got C's and B's and D's, probably the odd E in my case, we didn't succumb to the programming. There's a reason for that. We'll get to that another day. The people who are going to be arrested deserve it. Do not shed a tear. However, there's going to be a lot of people not happy about it. There's going to be a lot of people who think they can protest their way out of this. And there's going to be a lot of people who come after people like us because we've been saying it for so long. And we have no compassion for them. None. I've stated many times I am happy to be the hangman. I will wear that on my soul. Not happily, but because somebody has to do it. These people, these treasonous people, must be brought to account. And there will be better men than I to do that. We need to support those people. And we will. I know we will. I really do believe the time is coming, folks. Gold is still going up. Silver is climbing. It's all happening. All of the signs that we've been saying for 3 years. How many times have we said October this, Red October that, just till Christmas, just wait till after Christmas, just that and the other thing. I heard myself the other day that this whole operation was going to be put off, particularly here in Australia, for another 12 months because the white hat operation here in Australia had been infiltrated to such an extent that the damage was extensive and it would delay things happening in Australia for another 12 months. That won't sway. That won't happen if this intel comes true. It can't. Australians won't wait another 12 months to clean out our mess here. And if the military here in Australia won't do it, the people might just rise up and do it themselves. Once they start seeing the kinds of people our politicians have been bowing down to and sucking on, literally and metaphorically, for years. The transformation is coming. I'm sure of it. I can feel it in my bones. I'm not excited about Nasara Jassara. I'm not expecting any great wealth to flow my way. If it does, great. If it does to you, great. What I need to have happen is for this whole torturous, treasonous action to end, and we, the people, come into our own. There's going to be a lot of things if this comes to fruition, as has been laid out here. There's a lot of things that are going to be shown to us. Horrible, horrible things. There will be many things that you won't want to watch, that you won't want to hear about, because you fear it may impact you on a greater level. All I would ask is that you don't turn yourself off completely from this information, because it's important. We have to acknowledge it. We have to understand it. We have to accept it. And then we have to end it and make sure that people who would do this to us are never allowed in power of any kind ever again. And there will be ways for us to see that, because we have now a playbook of how they do this. And they're not smart enough to write a new playbook, folks. Albanese and his crew write a new playbook to screw us? He couldn't write this one. It's been written by somebody else, and those somebody else's will be arrested and hanged or shot. I don't much care which one. If you have family in the police force and they're rigidly on the other side, prepare yourself. I believe there are still some good police. I believe that there are good military. I don't know how many. I guess we're about to find out. Hopefully a lot more than we suspect. But yeah, it's going to be a big, big week. Here's my prediction. Now, October 27, 28, there's a thing called Project Sandman, which will start up. Now, this will start in America, according to this intel, and it will be the process of eradicating the fiat currency. What that actually means, I don't know. I suspect it will mean that you will take your fiat currency somewhere and it will be replaced with the new standard, the rainbow currency or whatever it's called. And you'll be able to go along on your merry way. Fiat currency will be destroyed. There will be no fiat system for it to be used in. And we can all be happy about that. That's the end of central banking. A very good thing. But that still leaves the stock market, doesn't it? Now, the stock market is, well, being propped up by God knows what at the moment. It's on a feather and a prayer. That would be my estimation. Now, I don't know stock markets, and I know very little about stocks or how the whole thing really works. I know it works on greed, and the greed part of it is how they've been trapped, and it is absolutely beautiful. So what happens when there is a big crash, like there was in 1987? Now, I haven't looked it up, but from memory, the market dropped quite a lot that day. Well, the prediction here is that starting next week, the stock market will start to crash. 20% it'll die on day one. They will close the market when it collapses 20% so that it can't go any further that day. They will then open the market the following day where it will crash another 20%, where the market will close again. And the prediction is that it will never reopen. 2 days, 20% a day, gets shut down prematurely, I'd imagine within the first hour. And after the second day, and a 20% fall, the market is dead. There'll be people jumping out of New York Wall Street windows. But may not be because they've lost money. Might be because there's military at the door knocking to come and take them to a very special little courtroom for their own very special little trial. It's been a very big drop, this thing. And all I can say is, based on the historics of it, talking about the 17th, and the fact that it just seemed to be about the day where gold broke through 4,000, the end of the financial year in the USA, and no fiscal year has been started up for the corporation. The Chinese yuan has become the standard, or gold, by which you can buy oil. The world isn't supposedly aware of this yet, certainly not America, or the American people, or the market is keeping it suppressed, because obviously that is going to make a very big impact on the market as well. The QFS being activated, 144 countries active, but no public announcement of it yet. That has to wait until the BRICS announcements, which are scheduled from the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th is when the summit is happening. So anywhere from the day after tomorrow to a couple of days down the road, I suppose, that summit is being held in Russia. So you can figure out the time zone, or we'll get the Aussie Cossack too. The interesting thing for me out of all of this is that a US republic was started on the 17th. And that points us in the direction of an original American government based on their constitution, which has been bastardized somewhat by these evil bastards over the last couple of centuries. Centuries. And of course, we won't see any of the congressmen or senators being arrested. One would assume that they were some were probably taken in over the weekend if this happened. And there'll be more ongoing. That's not going to be telegraphed to the public just yet. That will all form part of the big exposure, I think, which will come around later this week or early next week. So will there be an EBS? Who knows? Will all this come to fruition? You know me and dates. I'm not really flash at giving them, but I thought we have had a lot of interesting things happening, and we're seeing other signs with gold, silver on the way up. I know through QSI there are a number of scenarios playing out, all of which back up what is being said here. I expect we will see something happening this week. Now, what about the American election? Well, if the stock market crashes, I suspect there will not be an American. Well, I've already said I don't believe there will be an American election. What I do think is likely to happen is that Donald Trump will be appointed, and he will be appointed illegal actions and results churned out by the media, the fake media, and the cabal during the 2020 election. The Biden presidential campaign and election will be proved to be false, illegal, unlawful, and we will be shown that he has never been the president. We have seen so much that indicates that he is just an actor fulfilling a role for the cabal. Now, whether that actor is actually Jim Carrey or any one of a number of others that have been named as putting the mask on and playing the role of Joe Biden, well, hopefully we'll wait and see. But I would expect all of that will come to fruition very shortly. Biden will be arrested. Harris will be arrested. It was a criminal action. The last 4 years will be wiped from history. And Trump will go on to stop all the wars in the world and begin this global financial reset. But he will do that with Putin and Xi Jinping. I don't think he'll be doing it with anybody from England. I'm pretty sure Macron will be hopefully face up under a guillotine by then. So the French aren't going to be much assistance to the baddies, I don't believe, or the Germans. And that just leaves Israel, doesn't it? So nothing in this intel drop today suggested anything to do with Israel or any impact that this might have on Israel and its wars in various parts of the world. It would be interesting to see whether or not Iran follows through on its plans to protect itself should Israel launch a counterstrike against them in retaliation for the strike that happened on October 1. Israelis might want to rethink that because their attack plans for Iran were leaked overnight out of the US Pentagon. The actual battle plans were leaked. What they were going to target, how many rockets, how many bombs, how many this, how many that, all targeted. But I don't know. Don't think it's going to get that far now. I don't think that plan is much use because you can go and download it online if you want it. Maybe not. They might have pulled it off by now. But yeah, there are weird things happening in the world, folks. And this intel dump just hits me. It falls on me and I'm very comfortable with it. It feels right. All the timings. Somebody's just put up a question in the chat. Heard that China will attack Taiwan. Yeah, I've heard that too. Katrina, I've heard that as well. China have certainly been pressing, and we did go through the history of Chinese ownership of Taiwan in a show some time ago. They have a historical standing. I don't know that it's going to be a big war. I think there's going to be a lot of things used to while there are arrests made and all that. And look, an attack on Taiwan might just be that. I do not for 1 second believe that Vladimir Putin wants to blow up the world, much less all of Ukraine. I believe he is legitimately fighting a war with NATO, who are obviously controlled. Obsessed with getting a central bank into Russia. And the only way to do that would be through a war. And Russia has already said you can jam your central bank up your jacksie numerous times. NATO, being the military arm, if you like, of the cabal, has been agitating Ukraine for some time. And Ukraine obviously has been a base. The entire country, if you like, has been a base for some of the most evil, inhumane people this planet has ever known. It was the home of 26 biosecurity labs, where they were manufacturing poisons that killed along genetic traits. So they could kill certain kinds of Russians, certain types. Proven, all proven. You may not have seen the documents yet, but they are out there. And they were released by the Russians, who pulled them from the filing cabinets inside these biolabs. And the videos of them raiding these labs are available as well. It's all there to watch. All there to watch. Jinder Lee, interesting comment. Australia is Ukraine 2.0. I think to a certain degree, I think you might be right. We have been an experiment since our inception, our colonization, if you like. We have been an experiment. A controlled action has been taken against us from the moment they planted the flag, which they didn't even plant on mainland Australia. They planted on a pissy little island in the Thursday Islands, or the Torres Strait, I beg your pardon, and declared Australia terra nullius from there, even though Cook had spent a number of months in Cooktown fixing the Endeavour, living with the locals. That'd be the local Aborigines. And there are many drawings done by crew and others on that boat, still in Cooktown. You can go and see them today. So it's all coming, folks. I really do think it's coming. Somebody said Botany Bay. No, Cook did not plant the flag in Botany Bay. He did not plant it anywhere near Sydney. He didn't plant it in 1770. He didn't even plant it in Cooktown. He planted it in the Torres Strait. So, and we've been taken for a ride ever since. What can we expect if all this happens? What can we expect if the EBS comes on? What are the normies going to do when their television all comes to life with flashing red colors and Donald Trump's face and start telling them truths? Well, I think we can expect a lot of them are going to reject the truth and are going to get angry and are going to come out fighting. It will be important to only keep those you trust around you for a while, because there's going to be a lot of people who aren't ready for what's coming. Most of you, I hope, are stocked up. You've got food, you've got water, and if you haven't, go and get it now. Seriously, go to the shops now or first thing tomorrow. Stock up. Many of us have had our stashes, our stockpiles for some years. Go through them, find out what's out of date and replace it. If you haven't already eaten your way through it once, as many people did, fill it up again. Fill it up again. Toxic. The EBS won't just come through on TVs. It'll come through on every electronic device. Every electronic device. So your TV may not magically turn on, but your phone and your iPad or your whatever will. And you won't be able to turn it off. So that's my understanding of what will happen. But whether or not it does, who knows? I think we'll just have to wait and see. But it's an exciting time. Go and get your food. All right? Go and get enough to last you 10 days. You know, I don't think you're going to need 10 days, but I don't think you're going to need more, but you might. Who knows? There might be roaming gangs. There'll be a lot of... Look, we've seen the fights for toilet paper in the supermarket. What do you think they're going to do when the supermarkets are closed and they've got no food in their cupboards? What do you think they're going to do when they smell your food cooking? Now, many people will have stocked up enough to share and invite a few people, keep a few people who didn't prepare. Maybe that's you, maybe it's not. It's not your responsibility to keep other people. However, the EBS might go for 10 days, but the disruption to community, the anger, the fighting, the riots, dare I say it, think Black Lives Matter style riots. I don't think, well, it's possible they'll happen here in Australia. It's possible. God knows in Melbourne, there are enough touched by the special stick folk to make a real problem, probably the same in Sydney. Queenslanders are a little bit different in that regard because, I don't know, a bit harder maybe, but I would expect resistance from Queenslanders. I would expect resistance from awake Victorians and New South Welshmen. And that resistance I would expect to be pretty fierce. Because the other thing that those unprepared people are unprepared for is for those of us that are very prepared. Very. For every eventuality. And I hope that's you. If it's not, go out tomorrow and fix that. Tomorrow is the 22nd here in Australia. I would give you another 24 hours after that before the announcements start coming out of Russia. When that starts happening, the world is going to change rapidly and drastically. If it happens. Once again, take it or leave it. I can't guarantee these things. All I can do is tell you what I hear and tell you what I feel. But I feel this one, folks. I feel this one right here. It rings true in every cell in my body, and I am almost rejoicing for it. And that is a strange position to be in, knowing what could result from this. A lot of death. So let's see. Let's see what happens. The next few days will prove to be interesting, or they'll prove to be just the same as the last few days. So we sit back, we wait, we watch. But I would hope, if you are watching anything at all, you might be watching the Ainsley Bullion gold and silver prices and buying some of it. It's still going up, folks. It's still going up. And if war does break out, and, you know, The price of gold has almost gone up $100 today. It's at $4,081.80. I think it was at 4,000 and it might have been 48 this morning, was it? 4,048. So it's gone up 40 odd bucks, 35 odd dollars today. Silver is now sitting at $50.90. So I would imagine if the trend continues, it'll be over $50, over $51 in the morning. And still going north. You can still get in, folks. Buy your silver now. In fact, one of the really cheap ways of doing it is to get a little round of these. Now, these are the Ainsley 1/10 silvers rounds. I'll get one out and show it to you. They're like about the size of a 5-cent piece. It's a 1/10 ounce of silver. That little thing currently, one of those, is worth, well, rounded off to $10. Rounded up to $10. It's just under $10 value at the moment, but that's now. Tomorrow, it might be more. You can pick those up from Ainsley in rolls of 40 or 15, and they are a very easy thing to trade with, right? Rather than coming out with, a kilo or half a kilo of silver or something like that, and even potentially, an ounce coin. Now, those ounce coins at the moment worth about $51, close to $51. You can go in and get your breakfast. Throw one of those over if the shopkeeper is amenable. And why wouldn't you be? Because when you pay with a bit of silver, particularly spot, say $50.90. Tomorrow it might be worth $51.20, but old mate who owns it tomorrow, the shopkeeper, has made that profit because he holds the silver. You got your meal, you paid for it with your coin. So he not only made the profit out of the meal that he would ordinarily have got whether you paid cash or with a silver coin, he not only gets the profit out of the meal, he also gets the profit from the coin as it grows, or the round, whichever you choose, in value. Now, that's a compelling argument to put to any shopkeeper, to say you can have one of these, get it where you can see it, have one of these, it's worth $51, tomorrow it'll be worth $52. Day after it could be worth $53 or $4 or $5. In a week it might be worth $150. That's good profit. So easy to work, but if you only want to buy bread and milk with a 1 ounce coin, they can't really give you change for it. That's where these come in really, really, really handy. All right? The 1/10 rounds. And you can get them in half ounce as well if you so desire. But the 1/10, really easy to use, very easy to carry, super easy to conceal, and actually work quite nicely as a knuckle pump. Just saying. Anyway, there you go. On the debt clock, silver is over 7,000 an ounce, says J1. 700 an ounce. Why would we have any reason to doubt the debt clock? They seem to have been fairly strong on predictions so far, don't you think? It's not too late to get into it, folks. I urge you, please go and do it. And use my name or Voice of Freedom when you buy through AinsleyBullion.com.au. Put my name or Voice of Freedom in the notes section of your order. You will get a little discount. It is not a huge discount. That is because there is no huge margin in what Ainsley Bullion do when they sell bullion to you. If Ainsley Bullion were marking up above spot to a point where they're making great profits of every coin or every kilo they sell, they wouldn't sell, because there are so many other bullion dealers in this country who will sell it for spot or just above spot price. And that's what happens. The price you pay is just above spot price. Now, we give, Ainsley Bullion, are generously giving away a small portion of that as a discount to you guys. So please take the opportunity to get the discount. Unless you've got another bullion dealer that is going to give you a discount on a bullion sale, you'd be mad not to take up the offer from Ainsley Bullion. So please do. Now, don't expect it to be a huge discount. It's not going to be, because they don't make huge money on selling. They make very little money on selling. Very, very little money at all. So bear that in mind as you go forward. I would like to thank Craig. I got a message today from Ainsley Bullion in Brisbane. Craig, if you're watching this show, thank you. I'll be catching up with Michael from Ainsley on Thursday night. Oh, actually, maybe it's tomorrow night. Ooh, there might be a My Place meeting tomorrow night on the Gold Coast I'm going to. If you're on the Gold Coast, we'll be at that. If you want some of these, I've got some. But I've got to charge you what Ainsley charge you for them. So if you want some, I'll bring some and they'll be around. That's at the Club CSI, I think, in Southport tomorrow night for the My Place meeting. And Cass is going to be there. I think she's speaking about self-managed super funds. And, of course, Michael Ainsley will be there as well to give you a bit of an idea on what's happening with the gold and or precious metals markets all over. Don't ever forget platinum, folks. If you didn't catch up with Michael's chat on Saturday morning that I had with him while he was at his son's cricket match, go back and have a look at that. It's a couple of days ago, but you will find he had a wealth of information for you. If you have any questions, then let me know. I'm happy to pass them along. Michael's just a truly great man. Very happy to answer all questions from you, whether you want to, email them to him or ring me or email them to me or whatever you want to do. It should be very easy for you to do. So look forward to you enjoying maybe the next 24, 48 hours. And I'm pretty sure it's the 22nd. Is a Facebook is a My Place meeting on the Gold Coast. I'll do a live from there, but probably off the phone. Some of you may have noticed I have changed the name of the Nun 2K channel just to VOF, and I've changed so you'll see my head up on there now rather than the Nun 2K logo. No particular reason for that other than I discovered how I could do it last night, and I thought, well, why not change it? So I did. Unless you've got a particular reason for me to, change it back, it'll stay that way. I'm not sure that all the notifications went out as they normally would tonight, though. So if you didn't get a notification and you normally are a Nun 2K channel watcher, I'd be interested to know if that was the case. Black Sheep has an interesting suggestion. If you can't afford silver and gold, buy copper. That isn't as silly as it sounds, folks. And I don't know, a lot of people are stripping copper out of, well, practically everything these days and storing it because it, too, is a precious metal and will become so, more so in the near future. So keep an eye on copper, keep an eye on platinum. It's a nice in-between buy for gold and silver. If you haven't got enough for gold, but you've got a bit too much for silver, well, why don't you consider platinum? And it has a much greater return potential, as Michael will explain if you go back and watch the video from last Saturday morning. It really is a bit of a sneaker, platinum, so worthwhile investing in. Last time you sold scrap copper, it was $10. Well, I can tell you it's a lot more than that now. In fact, there's a bloke in Melbourne who's a millionaire out of it. All he does is drive around and pick up old washing machines and shit, take them back to a shed, strip it all out. It's got a machine that strips the wires. So, yeah, it's a wild thing. Wild Aussie woman, you did email me. You did. Do you want to know a weird thing? I used to date a girl in Adelaide with the same name as you, and she had a daughter. Weird. I did get your email. I'm looking into the whole thing, and I'll be honest, there's not a lot I can do. I'm endeavoring to see what I can find out in the background, but there isn't too much I can do through this show because it creates a huge problem. And I'm having a conversation with one person now. Wild Aussie Woman will know what I'm talking about. But I'll be in touch. So I'm reaching out. I used to live in Adelaide. I know a lot of people in South Australia, and we'll see if we can help. That's all I can do at the moment. So do what I can. Here's our mad South Australian farmer. One of your mad mates has found 23 grams of gold. You keep that one to yourself. I'm coming to South Australia, Pete. And I have a little panning kit, which does travel in the bus. Lots of copper in old cars and widow motors. Yeah, absolutely. Wiper motors are full of them. Any electric motor is full of them. So, yeah, copper is worthwhile getting and hanging on to at the moment, because I suspect the price of copper per kilo is going to jump in the near future too. It won't be for another year yet, Wild Aussie Woman. Oh, well, God, I might come to Adelaide and see you before then. So, God, look out. I loved getting your email, by the way. Thank you for that. And I really am trying to help. So we'll see what we can do. I can't make promises, though. When am I coming to South Australia? Well, I'm going to, if you haven't already made your booking, there are limited, and I mean, like, I want to say there's less than, I won't put a number on it, but it's double figures, let's say. Could be less than 20, might be less than 30 sites available. This is quite a large caravan park that we're going to, or caravan resort we're going to, at the end of November, not far from Echuca. Why are we going there? Well, it's the My Place annual yearly get-together, the big camp out. If you'd like to become part of that, then email me, carl@vofhq.com. I will put you in contact with the organisers of it all, and I'll give you the name of the resort so that you can secure your caravan or tent site or whatever it is you would like. It's all happening on the 29th, 30th, and 29th and 30th of November, 1st of December. And given the fact that the world isn't in lockdown or whatever, then I'll be coming down for that. A week later, I will be in Mount Gambier for the Act 32 get-together there, being put together by Brett Comer and his My Place group down there. There'll be Craig Cole, who'll be coming along and speaking at that. Tim Dwyer will be at that event as well. And there is a pretty significant chance that I will be somewhere between Mannum and Pinaroo, in between Echuca and Mount Gambier. Does that make sense? So I may not get to Adelaide. Well, I might get to Adelaide. You never know. Stranger things have happened. I'm actually thinking about leaving the bus in Victoria and coming back up here for Christmas with my mum, who's 89, and you want to be around for Christmas, and then flying back and continuing the run. So that will all depend on fundage. Flights at that time of the year are not cheap, but a hell of a lot cheaper than driving the bus back to Queensland and then back to Victoria or South Australia again, I can tell you. So it'll just depend on whether or not we've got any money to do anything at that stage. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to get to Echuca. So if you want to help, by all means, we could do with it. You can go to vofhq.com and make a donation, or you can join us, better still, as a member. And thank you. We've had a few new members join up in the last week or so. Connie and Alan, particularly, want to thank you both. And everybody else who's joined up recently. Don't forget to like and subscribe us, folks. Please like and subscribe. I keep forgetting to do it, and it is a terribly important part of breaking this algorithm that is cheating us out of likes, out of subscribes, out of viewer numbers, out of all sorts of things, and out of revenue. I can tell you the current YouTube revenue is less than a couple of $100. So yeah, don't think that that I'm doing an Aussie Cossack here and making a huge amount of money out of YouTube. There ain't none of that happening here. But it's not about making money for me. It's about making friends and keeping them informed. hoping you're having a good night, folks. And I hope tonight you have found to be beneficial in some way, shape, or form. If I have any piece of advice I would like to leave you with tonight, it is a pretty simple one. Go out and make sure you are stocked up in case we are locked down under an EBS situation. Make sure you've got enough food to get yourself through 10 days, maybe more. Make sure you've got enough to share, because there will be people who will be desperate. Maybe you can share, and if you can't share, let's hope you can protect. Be safe on the roads, folks. Not all the dickheads are on there, but there seems to be a large portion of them.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!